Hello, welcome to the video. Before we start, I want to say this is one of those where we had a problem with the camera. I'm not really sure what happened. Either it wasn't recording or something got lost with the data. It was several weeks ago, and we shot this at the end of a very long day. So I'm not really sure what happened. But so if it looks like we're not talking where we should be, that's all it is. I don't think it will deter from your enjoyment of the video. It's a great organ, and it was a lot of fun to shoot there. So here you go. Enjoy the video. Hi, I'm Brent Johnson, and today I'm still in Dubuque, Iowa. We're downtown at St. Luke's United Methodist Church. With me is Chuck Barland, who's also a professor of music at the University of Dubuque, but this is where you play the organ, correct?
This is one of my two churches,
one of the two churches
that I
right.
serve regularly, yes. Been here for over 21 years now.
Okay, well, gosh. Then you know this organ better than anybody, I'm sure.
Pretty well, yeah.
Tell me what we have here.
Okay, well, this is a 3-manual Farrand and Votey organ from Detroit, Michigan. It was built in 1897, and that's when the church was built as well. So the organ was commissioned for the building of this current structure, 1897. And I've been told it came on 2 railroad cars. It was big news when it arrived in Dubuque and was unloaded. And the neat thing about this is it's the one of only 2 3-manual Farrand and Voteys that are extant, that are still in existence.
Really?
And the other one, I believe, is at a Catholic church in Louisville called St. Martin of Tours in Louisville, Kentucky. But this is one of only 2 3-manual Farrand and Voteys that remain playable.
It's the first one I've seen. So
yes. Well, there's only one more, so if you go to Kentucky, you can document that one.
All right, well, where would we start here in our 3-manuals?
Well, why don't we start with the great?
Okay.
And we have, by the way, this organ is 36 ranks. I believe it's 2,120 pipes. So we'll start with the great. The great has a beautiful, fairly large open diapason, 8-foot. Nice sound there. Nice sound. And of course, in the late 19th century, or typically lots of 8-foot sounds on manuals. So we also have this Doppelflöte, which is a fairly big. I almost consider it a harmonic flute or a soloistic flute more than anything.
Lovely.
But a nice, beautiful kind of round sound. We have the gamba, a string, on the great as well. Pretty gentle, but when
edge to it.
Yes, it adds a little bit of an edge. This is one of my favorite stops, the Dulciana. It's very quiet, but I found when I need a quiet 8-foot stop, if I'm not using the great, I can couple this to the pedal, and it's just really nice to have down there. It cuts through, but it's nice and gentle. Dulciana.
Okay.
So those are the foundation 8-foot stops. So diapason, the flute, a string, and a very gentle string, I guess, kind of the Dulciana. And then we have some upper work as well. The octave 4-foot on the great. And of course, that's often used with the open diapason. So here's the 8 and 4-foot together.
Big sound there.
Big sound, yeah. And then we have a 2-foot that goes with that chorus. So here's 8-4-2 on the great.
Lovely. You can accompany a congregation on just that.
Just that, yeah. We really can, and it's very useful, nice. We also have a 12th, which will color. You can use it as a solo sound, for instance, with the Doppelflöte. I don't have anything else underneath it, but can be used as a solo. It's also for ensemble. I should say I had the 4-foot on there as well as the 8-foot Doppelflöte with the 12th. It also, of course, can build up a chorus, a principal chorus of 8. For the 12th, 15th, Yeah, and sometimes it can substitute as a mixture if you want just a little bit of color without having the bigger mixture on right away. We also have a double diapason, so I don't know, this is kind of, I think, a little unusual to have, but maybe on a 3-manual organ it's not so unusual, but at this time to have that 16-foot in the manual is very nice. And so if I have the principal chorus on 8/4, 2 2/3, and 2, this is what that is like, and I'll add the 16-foot in just a moment. With the lower octave again.
That's a big full chorus.
Yeah,
that's a really great sound.
Really nice. And then we do have a 4-rank mixture with this as well. So it's nice mixture that really complements everything well. This is the open diapason with the mixture. You can add the 4-foot and the 8-foot with the mixture. Maybe the 2-foot with that. Just for a nice chorus there, yeah. And then we have a trumpet.
Yes.
And I found that was a little bit, as some breeds are, especially in the summertime, they go out of tune, but the trumpet is nice and robust without being overly big.
Yeah, it's a great sound.
Yeah, yeah. And you can use it as an ensemble as well with the 8/4-2 mixture. You can add that for a little bit more sound. And after that, we do have something that says chimes. We don't have chimes. And we have then super couplers and sub couplers on each manual. And that nice unison silent, so we can cancel the concert pitch and
all right.
So some options to play with. That's essentially that is our great organ.
Okay, well, where do we go from there?
Let's go to the bottom manual, the choir. It's really quite light but delightful in some way. We have a Geigen diapason, so kind of a string, kind of a principal.
Very nice.
I really do like that stop. And then we have a concert flute. And just comparing that to the Doppelflöte on the grade, yeah. And then the concert flute. So a little less, everything on the choir is a little bit tamed.
Too, so.
Yes. The Dolce is maybe the softest stop on the organ.
Believe it.
Yeah, very gentle. And so sometimes I combine those two, the concert flute and the Dolce together, just for a little bit more, if I'm needing a slightly bigger flute sound down there. Then we have a 4-foot flute d'amore. Nice little 4-foot flute, and then a harmonic piccolo at 2-foot. So if we have the 8 and 4-foot flutes together, they sound like this. And the 2-foot flute then to complement that chorus of flutes on the choir.
Really nice.
Yeah.
They blend really well together.
They really do, yeah. And then we have a clarinet as well, which is one of my favorite stops. Just delightful.
very
and
nice.
that can be combined with the flute, effectively. And it could almost be a crumb horn, too, if you needed something kind of more
of a buzz to
Baroque,
it.
French classical. It's not exactly that, but
All right.
it's as close as we come. So that's the choir.
Okay.
And then the subcouplers and supercouplers go with that.
All right, well, then take us over to the
So the swell, the swell has a nice open diapason. It's actually quite big, I think. I've got the box open, yes. Comparing that to the great open.
They both got that big 1890 sound.
Yeah, they do. They do. So that makes a big difference when I couple that in or bring that in. There's a stopped diapason on the swell.
Dark and warm.
Yeah, and again, we have the flutes on each manual, so the stop flute, and then the concert flute on the choir, and that big doppelflöte on the great. Yeah, but nice variety. The solitional is gentle and warm, kind of thin. And then we have a voix celeste that goes with that down to tenor C. So it's with the box open. Of course, it can be very quiet with the box closed. There's a 4-foot Gems horn. And I often pair that with either the open diapason for an 8 and 4.
Works really well.
It can work, I think, with the with the solitional and stop diapason too, instead of the open.
It adds a lot of color.
Nice. It adds a lot of color. And then we have a harmonic flute at 4 foot. And so with the stop diapason, that combination.
Yeah.
Nice color
both
there.
the 4-foots there, but it gives you a lot of options.
Yeah, and it does make a difference. That's the harmonic flute, the Gems horn. So the Gems horn is a little brighter.
It is,
harmonic flute
it's a
is
little bigger
a little
than
bit
your
subtler.
standard
Yeah.
Gems horn.
Yeah. And then there's a 3-rank cornet. Obviously, that's designed to go with the 8 and 4 foot flute. But sometimes I'll combine that with some other reeds on the organ for a nice bigger trumpet sound. But the cornet by itself would be like this. Maybe we can accompany it on the choir here. So
Bright sound?
It's a nice sound there.
Okay.
And then we have 2 8-foot reeds. So we have an oboe on the swell.
Yeah.
And a cornopian.
Yeah, very nice.
So there are times where if I want, and sometimes things are out of tune, but other things aren't as bad. And so if I need a substitute for a trumpet and I maybe don't want to use the great for whatever reason, I can get a pretty robust sound on the swell by combining the oboe with the cornopian. That's both of those ranks. Let's add the cornet to that.
Yeah,
That can be
much
pretty
brighter
good.
sound. Very good.
Pretty bright sound, yeah. We do have a vox humana as well on the swell.
Nice.
Yeah. And then the sub and super couplers. I should mention that this organ was built, as I said, by Farrand and Votey in 1897. It was updated or restored to some extent by the Wangering Company in 1940 or 41, somewhere in the 40s. And then the latest restoration was carried out in 1992 by the Fowler Organ Company of Lansing, Michigan.
And they're the ones that built this console.
And they're the ones that built this console. And I know, now I wasn't here yet in 1992 when all this was happening, but I'm told that the one thing they changed was on the swell, we did not have a voix celeste until 1992. Before that, it was an Aeolene, and it was so quiet and tiny, and they just revoiced it, and so we had a Celeste since 1992. But otherwise, it's largely been, I think, contained as the Farrand and Votey organ that was here in the 1890s.
We have a few more ranks in the pedal division.
Yes, and it's a little deceptive because two of the ranks don't exist. So we do have a 8-foot flute and a 16-foot trombone, which aren't there. There's nothing there, and
maybe someday.
Maybe someday. And I just wonder. A lot of this is unified. We have a 16-foot violone. And we have an 8-foot violoncello that is an extension of the 16-foot violone. So they work nicely together. They're obviously part of the same rank and voiced to be blended. We have the 16-foot Borden. I don't know if I mentioned that. We had a 16-foot Borden in the. We talked about that. That's also playable in the pedal. It's very quiet. Sometimes that's desirable. You really want just a very soft 16, and that carries that out. The sub bass, again, is also pretty quiet. I think a little bigger than the Borden, but not by much. And I wondered if the Flute 8 was supposed to be an extension of the sub bass, maybe. And maybe they didn't have the pipes or something, to go up, so they just didn't have it operational at all. But it seems to me that might have been the plan at one point. Then we have the double diapason 16-foot. That is from the Great. We heard that in the Great. And then the contrabass 16. There's a lot of 16-foots in this pedal. We have one dead note there. So again, sometimes I'll combine several soft 16s to build it up a little bit. But we also have an acoustic bass 32. Now that does work. It's not pipes, but it does operate with that resultant effect.
Pretty well.
So it's gentle, it's soft, it's not a big reed, but it's just if you have a 16-foot on the manual, it's a nice complement to the pedal. We have the 8-foot octave, which is an extension of the Great double diapason. So essentially that's the open diapason. And then we have the super octave 4-foot, which is an extension of the same rank. And so the three of those together, 16, 8, and 4.
Yeah. So you got a lot of colors there to play with.
We do. I wish we had a 16-foot reed. I do miss that.
Again, maybe someday.
And so, a lot of times for whatever I need, postludes or something, if I need that reed in the bass, obviously I can't do a 16, but sometimes I will couple the oboe and cornopian of the swell down into the pedal, and then of course don't couple it to the Great, and then I get that reed sound in the pedal, but not in the manuals. So
it's good you got all the couplers and the flexibility with the
organists have to be creative in pulling sounds from different divisions when you need them, and to make things sing out or to blend as needed.
Well, the stuff you have is wonderful, and even with its age, it still works in here in this room really well. It was designed for the room, so it works, but it still has a lot of clarity and a lot of color, even with a lot of weight and darkness in some of these stops. So.
Yeah, no, we're very fortunate. I didn't mention we also have couplers, and one interesting thing, and this has actually saved me sometimes, we have an unusual coupler of Great to choir. That's unusual. Normally, everything couples to the grate, and but we have a grate to choir, so I can make the bottom manual the grate manual. And there's been a few times where a contact has gotten a little dirt, and a certain note won't sound, but it will sound on the choir. So I just pull everything down, and otherwise I couldn't use the grate. So now I can use the grate, just I have to remember it's on the bottom manual.
All right.
So that does help.
This is a beautiful instrument, and I'm so glad we got to see it. And again, my first Farrand and Votey instrument. We'll have to go find more of these.
Yeah,
wonderful.
there are not too many left. I couldn't find an opus number for this, but it was constructed for this church in 1897.
Okay. We should say also, this church, this congregation, is the oldest in Iowa. Is that right?
It's the very first congregation in Iowa, way before Iowa was a state. 1833 is when the church was established. And it got its name St. Luke's because there was a physician in the church who was a big supporter and starter of this congregation. And I think he passed away prematurely. And in honor of him, they decided to call it St. Luke's because St. Luke is the patron saint of medicine. Yeah. So that's how we got our name St. Luke's.
Well, I'm glad it's still here. I'm glad the organ is still singing.
Getting into this instrument is fairly easy. There's a panel in the case that comes out, just some screws holding it in, and we immediately see pedal chests on the floor. This looks like a cello, maybe. This continues back and around. And then in front of us we see the grate chest. So we climb the little ladder and up the walkboard. And there are all of the grate pipes. Trumpet here in the back, our mixture, the 2-foot, 2 2/3, the 4-foot Doppelflute, the Dulciana's up there, and then the big open diapason. Now we're looking behind us. The choir box is directly behind the grate, and the camera is inside the shutters looking in. You see that it has a bell clarinet there. There's our harmonic flute, our strings, Geigen principal. And the swell box is up above us. There's 2 chests there. We see one of them. In the front of the grate here, this is the 16-foot double diapason. Those pipes, the biggest ones, are on the floor in front of the chest. And you can kind of see they've been stored everywhere. There's our swell shades up above us. I didn't notice this until looking at this footage again, but someone has stuck a microphone in the facade, I guess attempting to mic the organ, maybe for streaming or something. I guess that would work. It's not the best idea. Now we've come up the ladder and we are in the swell box. It just has a door on the side that comes down. And here is the swell. The rear chest there with the Vox Humana in front. the oboe. And behind it, an 8-foot flute. There are strings, the former aeoline, and then the 16-foot flute along the back. And then there's a door in the back of the chamber. So we have to look out there, and that's where you can find the rest of the pedal pipes, all those big 16s. I guess you can access them here to tune. Not really sure how you would get to some of those. Maybe it's more accessible from underneath the grate. So back in the swell, we're looking at the front chest here, which has the cornopian. And our upper work, the cornet, the 4-foot Gims horn. There's our string, and then the big open diapason. And that's a pretty big open diapason for a swell division. Looking out through the shades, we can see the tops of the 16-foot open, which are hidden behind the facade, and the backs of the facade pipes out there.
Chuck, thank you for showing us the Farrand and Votey here at St. Luke's United Methodist. Again, first time I've seen one of these. It's a beautiful instrument and just a lot of these great vintage sounds.
Yeah.
But they still work so well today, and they work for worship services today.
It's wonderful.
So it must be a lot of fun to come in and play.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, we still have a few more things we're going to see here in Iowa, so stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. If you like this video, please click like down below and give us a thumbs up. And make sure you subscribe because you want to see the next things coming out from somewhere else in Iowa. For now, though, we're going to go find our way to the next place, and hope to see you there. Until then, thank you again, Chuck. This has been great. I'm Brent Johnson. Thank you for watching.